Hello students, we'll continue with our discussion on solutions in this chapter as well, which is solutions part 2nd. Let's start with ideal solution. An ideal solution can be defined as a solution which obeys Raoult's law at all concentrations and temperatures. I hope you remember Raoult's law, which we discussed in the last chapter. According to Raoult's law, the vapor pressure of a solution containing non-volatile solute is proportional to the mole fraction of the solvent present in the solution. Now it's quite evident because as we can deduce that there will be no contribution by the non-volatile solute to the vapor pressure of the solution. So we can say that an ideal solution will exhibit some general characteristics. First of all, as we just now discussed, that it will obey Raoult's law at all concentrations and temperatures. The second characteristic is that delta V for solution will be equal to 0. That is, there will be no change in volume in the formation of an ideal solution. Also, delta H for the solution will be equal to 0. That is, heat will neither be absorbed nor released during the formation of an ideal solution. If we plot a graph between the vapor pressure of an ideal solution and its composition in terms of mole fraction, assuming that this ideal solution is composed of two components A and B, then this is the kind of graph we obtain. These two axes, which are vertical in direction, show the vapor pressure. This axis shows the vapor pressure of pure B component, and this axis shows the vapor pressure of pure A component. On this axis is plotted the composition of the solution in terms of mole fraction. At this end, the mole fraction of component A is 0, and here it becomes 1, where the mole fraction of B reaches from 1 to 0. In this case, the vapor pressure of pure A is higher and more volatile than B. It is assumed in ideal solution that the chemical interaction between the two liquids is equal to the bonding between the liquids. The solutions can be categorized as ideal or non-ideal based on their compliance to the Raoult's law. So those solutions which do not obey Raoult's law are known as non-ideal solution. So we can say that the characteristics of a non-ideal solution are: the vapor pressure of a non-ideal solution is higher or lower than that predicted by Raoult's law. So if we plot a graph between the vapor pressure of the solution and the composition of the solution in terms of mole fractions, then we observe that the observed vapor pressure is always lower or higher than that predicted by the Raoult's law in case of non-ideal solution. So the solution shows positive deviation for Raoult's law if its pressure is higher than that predicted by Raoult's law. And the solution will show negative deviation in the graph if its vapor pressure, that is the observed vapor pressure, is lower than that predicted by Raoult's law. The vapor pressures predicted by Raoult's law will be those for ideal solutions. This is the graph for a non-ideal solution which shows positive deviation from Raoult's law. This is the ideal vapor pressure, that is the vapor pressure predicted by Raoult's law, and this is the actual vapor pressure of the mixture that is being observed. Now at times the vapor pressure which is observed can be as high as this much. That is, the vapor pressure of the mixture will be higher than the vapor pressure of any of the solvent, which is A in this case. Now why is the observed vapor pressure higher than the ideal vapor pressure? The reason is that the intermolecular forces between the molecules of A and B are weaker as compared to those in their pure states. So the intermolecular bonds in the solution will break more easily as compared to the pure liquids A and B. Now the change in enthalpy observed on mixing the two will be endothermic as well. That is, heat will be absorbed instead of being released. The example of this kind of solution which shows positive deviation from Raoult's law is the solution of ethyl alcohol and water. The forces acting between their molecules in the solution are weaker as compared to the hydrogen bonds between the molecules of pure water and dipole-dipole forces between pure ethanol molecules. Now this is the graph for a non-ideal solution showing negative deviation from Raoult's law. By negative deviation we mean that the vapor pressure which is observed is lower than that predicted by Raoult's law. Now at times this graph can be like this, in which the lowest vapor pressure is still observed to be that of one of the pure solvents, and at times the vapor pressure of the mixture can be lower than the vapor pressure of any of the pure solvents. Now why the observed vapor pressure is lower than the ideal vapor pressure? It is because the intermolecular forces between the molecules of A and B are stronger in the solution as compared to those in their pure states. The intermolecular bonds will break with more difficulty in the mixture as compared to the pure liquids A and B. So the change in enthalpy observed on mixing the two will be exothermic, that is, heat will be released. Example of such a solution can be the mixture of nitric acid plus water. They react together to give nitrate ions and hydronium ions in the solution. These ions have strong ionic attractive forces acting between them as compared to the intermolecular forces acting in their pure state. Therefore, they show a negative deviation from Raoult's law. We discussed Raoult's law and Henry's law in the last chapter in detail. If you remember, then according to Raoult's law, the vapor pressure of a volatile component in a given solution is directly proportional to the mole fraction of that component. So mathematically, we can write Raoult's law as PA is equal to P naught A into XA, where PA is the vapor pressure of the volatile component in the solution. P naught A is the vapor pressure of that component in its pure state, and XA is the mole fraction of that component in the solution. We also discussed Henry's law, according to which the solubility of a gas in a liquid is proportional to the partial pressure of the gas. So mathematically, Henry's law is stated as P is equal to KHX, where P is the partial pressure of the gas, X is its mole fraction, and KH is Henry's constant. Now if we compare these two equations, this is the first one and this is the second one, then we can see that Raoult's law, that is this equation, becomes a special case of Henry's law in case P naught A is equal to KH. So in case of very dilute solutions, we can say that the solvent obeys Raoult's law whereas the solute obeys Henry's law. Now the properties of the solutions either depend on the nature of the particles of their components or on their numbers. So those properties of solutions which depend only upon the number of solute particles in the solution and not on their nature are known as colligative properties. They are relative lowering in vapor pressure, elevation of boiling point, depression of freezing point, and osmotic pressure. We are going to discuss these colligative properties one by one in our forthcoming slides. Now the first colligative property that we are going to discuss is the relative lowering of vapor pressure. So in this case we are assuming a solution with a volatile solvent A and a non-volatile solute denoted by B. So according to Raoult's law, the vapor pressure of the solution containing a non-volatile solute denoted by P will be equal to PA, that is the vapor pressure of the solvent in the solution form, which will be equal to P naught A XA, where P naught A is the vapor pressure of the solvent in its pure state and XA is the mole fraction of the solvent. So the lowering of vapor pressure will be the vapor pressure of the solvent in pure state minus the vapor pressure of the solvent in solution state, that is P naught A minus PA. So on substituting the value of PA from this equation in this, we get P naught A minus P naught A XA. On taking P naught A as the common quantity outside the bracket, we get P naught A 1 minus XA. We also know that the sum of the mole fractions of all the components of a solution or a mixture is always equal to 1. So in this case, we are considering a binary solution with A and B as the components. So the sum of their mole fractions denoted by XA and XB will be equal to 1. On rearranging this equation, we get the value of XB, that is XB equals 1 minus XA. This is the same quantity as given this in this equation. So on substituting this value, we get P naught A minus PA is equal to P naught A XB. Now this part is the lowering of vapor pressure. For finding the relative lowering, we have to divide it by P naught A. So P naught A minus PA divided by P naught A will be equal to this part divided by P naught A will be equal to XB. On expanding XB, we can write it is equal to NB divided by NA plus NB, where NB is the number of moles of B and NA is the number of moles of A. So we can say that according to Raoult's law, the relative lowering of vapor pressure of a solution is equal to the mole fraction of the solute. Now in case of very dilute solutions, we can write that NA plus NB is almost equal to NA. So NB divided by NA plus NB is almost equal to NB divided by NA. On substituting this value in the previous equation, we get the relative lowering of vapor pressure is equal to NB upon NA. We can further expand this formula since we know that the number of moles of a particular component is equal to the weight of that component divided by its molar mass. So we can write NB is equal to WB divided by MB and NA is equal to WA divided by MA. This is the final formula we get for the relative lowering of vapor pressure. Now let's have a look at an example based on the lowering of vapor pressure. The vapor pressure of a solution containing 13 gram of solute in 100 gram of water at 28 degrees centigrade is 27.371 millimeter mercury. We have to calculate the molecular weight of the solute. The vapor pressure of water at 28 degrees centigrade is 28.065 millimeter mercury. Now we know the formula of relative lowering of vapor pressure, that is P naught A minus PA divided by P naught A is equal to XB. P naught A is the vapor pressure of the pure solvent, PA is the vapor pressure of solution, and XB is the mole fraction of the solute. We can further expand XB as NB divided by NA plus NB, where NB is the number of moles of the solute and NA is the number of moles of solvent. We know that number of moles of a substance is equal to its weight divided by its molecular weight. So we can write XB equal to WB divided by MB upon WA divided by MA plus WB divided by MB. Now we have to substitute the given values in this and this portion of the equation. P naught A, that is the vapor pressure of pure solvent, is given to us. It is 28.065 millimeter. PA is 27.371. WB, that is the weight of the solute, is 13 grams. Its molecular weight has to be determined. WA is the weight of the solvent, that is 100 grams. And we know that the molecular weight of the solvent, which is water in this case, is 18. So on substituting the values, we get 28.065 minus 27.371 divided by 28.065 is equal to 13 divided by MB upon 100 divided by 18 plus 13 divided by MB. On rearranging the equation, we can write that MB is equal to 13 into 18 into 28.065 upon 100 into 0.694 minus 13 into 18 whole upon 100. On solving this and this quantity, we get 94.6 minus 2.34, which is equal to 92.3 grams. This is our final answer. Our next colligative property is the elevation of boiling point. We know that the boiling point of a liquid is the temperature at which the vapor pressure of the liquid becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure. Now, when a non-volatile solute dissolves in the solvent, its vapor pressure decreases, that is, the concentration of solvent decreases, because there is no contribution from the non-volatile solute to the vapor pressure. Therefore, we can conclude that if the solution is to be brought to the boiling point, we have to raise its temperature more as compared to that in the pure solvent. Now, for a dilute solution, the elevation in boiling point is found to be proportional to the molality of the solution. So, if delta Tb represents the elevation in the boiling point and small m as usual denotes the molality, we can write that delta Tb is proportional to m, or delta Tb is equal to Kbm, where Kb is the molar elevation constant. It is also known as the boiling elevation constant. It is equal to the elevation in boiling point when 1 mole solute is dissolved in 1000 grams of solvent. In this case, the solute is non-volatile and solvent is volatile. So, on substituting the value of m, that is molality, in this equation, we can write that delta Tb is equal to Kb into the value of molality, that is 1000 into Wb divided by Mb into Wa, where Wb is the weight of the solute, Mb is the molecular weight of the solute, and Wa is the weight of the solvent. We know that Wb divided by Mb is the number of moles of the solute, which can be denoted by Mb. So we can write this formula as delta Tb is equal to Kb into 1000 into Mb divided by Wa. Let's take an example based on the elevation of boiling point. A solution of sucrose, whose molecular mass is given to us, is prepared by dissolving 68.4 gram in 1000 grams water. We have to find the boiling point of the solution. The molar elevation constant for water, that is Kb, its value is given to us. So we know that delta Tb is equal to Kb into m. Delta Tb is the elevation in the boiling point, Kb is the molar elevation constant, and m is the molality of the solution. So first let's find out m, that is molality. M is equal to Wb into 1000 divided by Mb into Wp. Wb is the weight of the solute, Mb is the molecular weight of the solute, and Wa is the weight of the solvent. The weight of the solute is given to us, that is 68.4 grams. Molecular weight of the solute is also given to us, that is 342, and weight of the solvent is also given to us, that is 1000. So on substituting these values, we get 68.4 into 1000 divided by 342 into 1000. Answer is 0.2. On substituting the value of m in this equation, we get delta Tb is equal to 0.52 into 0.2. That is 0.104 Kelvin. Now we know that the boiling point of pure water is 100 degrees centigrade, that is 373 Kelvin, plus the elevation in the boiling point, that is 0.104 Kelvin. So our answer is 373.104 Kelvin, which will be the boiling point of this solution. The next colligative property that we are going to discuss is the depression of freezing point. Freezing point is the temperature at which the solid and the liquid state of the substance have the same vapor pressure. So I can say that at the freezing point, the vapor pressures of the solid phase and the liquid phase are equal. Now, since the vapor pressure of the solution is lower than that of the pure solvent, lower temperature will be required to achieve that equilibrium condition. That explains why there is depression in the freezing point. Now, the depression in freezing point that we denote as delta Tf is proportional to the molality of the solution, denoted as small m, or delta Tf is equal to Kf into m, where Kf is the molar depression constant. It is also known as freezing point depression constant. It is the depression in freezing point when 1 mole of a solute is dissolved in 1000 grams of the solvent. Now, on expanding molality, that is m, we can write that delta Tf is equal to 1000 into Kf into Wb divided by Wa into Mb, where Wb is the weight of the solute, Wa is the weight of the solvent, and Mb is the molecular weight of the solute. As we know that this portion, that is 1000 into Wb divided by Wa into Mb, is equal to small m, that is molality. Let's take an example based on the depression in freezing point. We have to find the freezing point of a solution containing 0.52 gram of glucose dissolved in 80.2 gram of water. Molar depression constant for water is also given to us. We know that delta Tf is equal to Kf into m. We have to determine this quantity. Kf is given to us. Now we know that the formula of m, that is molarity, is equal to 1000 into Wb divided by Wa into Mb. Small m stands for molality. Wb is the weight of the solute, Wa is the weight of the solvent, and Mb is the molecular weight of the solute. The value of Wb, that is the weight of solute, is given to us, which is 0.52 grams. Wa is 80.2, and Mb, that is the molecular weight of glucose, is 180. When solving this, we get the answer 0.03602. Now substituting this value in m and substituting the value of Kf from this, we get delta Tf is equal to Kf into small m. The answer is 0.067 kelvins. Now Tf, that is the freezing point of water, we know is 0 degree centigrade or 273 degree Kelvin. On subtracting this depression, that is 0.067, we get 272.933 Kelvin. This is our final answer. The next colligative property that we are going to discuss is the osmotic pressure. The spontaneous flow of solvent molecules from a dilute solution into a concentrated solution when the two are separated by a perfect semi-permeable membrane is known as osmosis. So the pressure which must be applied to the solution site, that is more concentrated solution, to just prevent the passage of pure solvent into it through a semi-permeable membrane is known as the osmotic pressure. It is denoted by small p. Mathematically, we can write P is equal to CRT, which is further equal to NB divided by V into RT. C is the strength of the solution, NB is the number of moles of the solute, V is the volume of the solution in liters, R is the universal gas constant, and T is the temperature of the solution on Kelvin scale. Let's solve this simple numerical based on the osmotic pressure. We have to find the osmotic pressure of a solution which contains 6.01 gram of urea per liter at 27 degrees centigrade. The molecular weight of urea is given to us, that is 60.1 AMU. We know the formula of osmotic pressure is P is equal to CRT, that is NB upon V RT, which can again be written as WB upon MB into V whole into RT, where WB is the weight of the solute, MB is the molecular weight of the solute, V is the volume of the solution, R is the gas constant, and T is the temperature on Kelvin scale. So on substituting the values given to us in this equation, we can write P is equal to WB, that is the weight of urea, is 6.01 divided by molecular weight, that is 60.1 into volume 1 liter into R into T, 300 Kelvin, as we know that 27 degrees centigrade is equal to 300 Kelvin. On solving this equation, we get the value 2.66 atmosphere. This is the osmotic pressure. On the basis of osmotic pressure of the solutions, we can define isotonic solutions. Isotonic solutions are those solutions which have the same osmotic pressures. They also have the same molar concentrations. Now, since we denote osmotic pressure of a solution by small p, we can write that for isotonic solution, P1 is equal to P2. That is, the osmotic pressure of one solution is equal to the osmotic pressure of the second solution. Also, C1 is equal to C2, since we said that they also have the same molar concentrations. Now, the strength of the solution, that is C, can be written as small n divided by V, where n is the number of moles and V is the volume of the solution. So we can write N1 upon V1 is equal to N2 upon V2. Now again, number of moles can be written as weight of the substance divided by its molecular weight. So we can further write W1 divided by M1V1 is equal to W2 upon M2V2. We can also define hypotonic and hypertonic solutions by comparing the osmotic pressures of two solutions. When two solutions have different osmotic pressures, the solution of lesser osmotic pressure is known as hypotonic solution, and the solution of higher osmotic pressure is known as hypertonic solution. We recently discussed the phenomenon of osmosis. There is also a process known as reverse osmosis. The movement of solvent particles from higher concentration to lower concentration through semi-permeable membrane on applying pressure is known as reverse osmosis. If the external pressure is greater than osmotic pressure and is applied on the more concentrated solution site, the solvent molecules start passing through semi-permeable membrane from the solution to the solvent or less concentrated solution. This is reverse osmosis. This process is used to purify seawater. Due to colligative properties, the molar masses of some of the substances have been found to be different from those expected. Want-of factor comes into picture in such cases. Want-of factor, which is denoted by a small I, is used to express the extent of association or dissociation of solutes in solution. It is the ratio of the normal and observed molar masses of the solute. So we can write I is equal to normal molar mass divided by observed molar mass, or I is equal to calculated molar mass divided by experimental molar mass. In case of association, observed molar mass being more than the normal, the factor I has a value less than 1. But in case of dissociation, the want-of factor is more than 1 because the observed molar mass has a less value. In case of solutes which do not undergo any association or dissociation in a solvent, the want-of factor I will be equal to 1 because the observed and the normal molar masses will be the same. Therefore, want-of factor may also be expressed as I is equal to observed or calculated value of colligative property divided by the normal or experimental value of the same colligative property. Thus, by including the want-of factor, the equations for various colligative properties that we just discussed get modified. Let's see how. The first is the elevation in boiling point, denoted by delta TB. which is now equal to I into Kb into small m, where I is the Van 't Hoff factor, Kb is the molar elevation constant, and small m is the molality of the solution. The second is depression in freezing point, denoted by delta Tf, which is now equal to I into Kf into small m, where I is the Van 't Hoff factor, Kf is the molar depression constant, and small m is the molality of the solution. The next is the osmotic pressure, denoted by small p, which is now equal to I into CRT, where I is the Van 't Hoff factor, C is the strength of the solution, R is the universal gas constant, and T is the temperature on Kelvin scale. Let's take an example. 2 gram of benzoic acid dissolved in 25 gram of benzene shows a depression in freezing point equal to 1.62 Kelvin. Molar depression constant of benzene is given to us, that is 4.9 kilogram per mole. We have to find the percentage association of the acid. Now generally the formula that we apply for depression in freezing point, that is delta Tf, is Kf into small m. On expanding m, we can write 1000 into Kf into Wb divided by Mb into Wa. On substituting the values, we get 1000 into Kf, which is given to us 4.9 kilogram per mole. Wb is the weight of the solute, that is 2 grams, or 2 into 10 raised to minus 3 kilograms, divided by Mb into Wa, that is the weight of the solvent, which is 25 grams, or 25 into 10 raised to minus 3 kgs. Now delta Tf is also given to us, that is 1.62 Kelvin. So on substituting these values, if we rearrange the equation, we can find out the value of Mb, which turns out to be 241.9. This is the molecular weight we obtain on applying the normal equation for delta Tf without using the Van 't Hoff factor. Now the value of Van 't Hoff factor I is equal to the normal molecular weight divided by the observed molecular weight. We know that the normal molecular weight of benzoic acid is 122, and the one that we have calculated is 241.9. So we get the value of I, that is 0.504. Now in benzoic acid, the association between two molecules takes as follows: C6H5COOH twice. So for finding out the association, we write alpha is equal to 1 minus I raised to x divided by x minus 1, where x is the number of simple molecules that associate to form a new particle. So here x is equal to 2. So we write alpha, that is the degree of association, is equal to 1 minus I, that is 1 minus 0.504 raised to x, that is 2, divided by 2 minus 1. So on solving this equation, we get 0.992, or we can say 99.2%. This is the percentage association of benzoic acid.